It reminded me of like someone just like with their bare hands, like prying open like a clam or like oyster. Just be like, give me that shit. Like he just is so like vicious in that. And
All right, welcome to another episode of Two Fight Fans. We talk about all things in combat sports. I'm one fight fan, Colin.
and I'm the other Stuart.
All right, so I was out last weekend, but we had the UFC and PFL like double header of fights. Stu, did you watch all of them? What'd you see?
I didn't watch all of their main cards in their entirety. Oh, actually, is that true? I watched the PFL one live, and then I watched most of the main card after the fact for UFC Vegas 99.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Number one, PFL. When they go to Saudi Arabia, the atmosphere places. Saudi Arabia doesn't really care about the fights. It was like over half empty, even by the main event time. So that was kind of a bummer. Because it feels like if you'd put this in Vegas or if you put this anywhere in a large North American town, this would have been popping off. Hell, you could have put this in Brazil. Renan Ferreira's Brazilian, Chris Cyborg's Brazilian, but they didn't. They are putting it in Saudi Arabia for all of the reasons we already know about. Yeah. What is there to say? Big Franny's back. He's got vicious ground and pound, knocked him out. Then like. He's like wailing on this guy. Dan Miragliotta is excited to see a death in the cage, and so he doesn't stop it. And then once Francis like gets like the fight's waved off, Francis kind of like slumps over and like seems so distraught. And Renan Ferreira sits up and is like, "Where am I?" But then there's this one moment where Renan Ferreira looks over at Francis Ngannou, and Francis Ngannou looks so. It was obviously a very emotional thing for him to come back after the death of his son and the loss to Anthony Joshua and everything that's been going on. So he just looks so overcome with emotion. And Renan Ferreira kind of looks at Dan Miragliotta like, what the fuck happened to this guy? Why is he all upset? So that was kind of funny. Yeah, Chris Cyborg beat Larissa Pacheco. Larissa Pacheco had like donkey brains in this fight and was fighting very poorly. But it was an entertaining fight overall. Yeah, there's been a lot of debate now online about like, is Chris Cyborg the number one MMA fighter of all time? Could make that argument, but it's UFC 308 fight week. We don't have time to have that discussion right now. We'll talk about that later. Paul Hughes, AJ McKee was good. Paul Hughes, I told you, the new star coming out of Ireland, and he beat AJ McKee, and he beat him soundly. I don't know what this split decision bullshit is. That was 30-27s across the board.
All right.
And then, yeah, there were two other fights on this card that I've entirely forgotten because they were, the Johnny Eblen, Fabian Edwards fight, sucked the horn. No point in watching it. And then they had a couple of, like, I did see that there was a local Saudi Arabian fighter fighting on this and then somebody else from the Middle East, and they were on the main card. And one of them was like a plus 1,200 underdog, and he ended up winning.
Nice.
So, yeah. So yeah, I mean, overall, the PFL's broadcast is all right. It's fine. I do miss Dan Hardy on commentary. He does commentary for PFL now. But the atmosphere in Riyadh is dead. Like, sports washing with MMA doesn't seem to be resonating with the local Saudi Arabian crowd because nobody's really going to these events. It was even like Better Beef B-Ball. There, it wasn't even a full arena for that fight, like one of the most important fights in boxing. So, for Chris Cyborg, Paul Hughes is awesome. Yeah, there's now endless debates about who's the best heavyweight. Currently, it's Big Fran. Yeah, it's Big Fran. I don't want to hear anything else. Yeah. So that was the PFL card.
All right.
Yeah. And then your little dude, Asu Almobayev, beat Mateusz Nicolau.
Yeah.
Good fight. Entertaining fight. Surprisingly entertaining fight was Darren Elkins and Daniel Pineda. Now, they are both washed as hell, but they went out there and they gave it their all. And I think Daniel Pineda retired, and I think Darren Elkins might retire soon. What else? Charles Johnson, Sumaderji was a good fight. Charles Johnson won. Rob Font, we both got this one wrong.
Yeah.
Rob Font beating Kyler Phillips. It just seemed like Kyler Phillips didn't. He kind of fell into that trap of like, I'm just going to be so defensively sound that you're not going to be able to like touch me. But then he ends up nullifying his own offense because he's like,
Oh.
once I get so slick with this defense, then I'll come back. And it's like, well, 15 minutes is up, bud. And he's like, oh, wait, what? What happened? So Rob Font, veteran savvy, knowing what he needed to do to win. Looking good out there.
Mm.
And then your boy, Michel Pereira. I tell
Yeah.
you what, this goofy man, he comes out there. He hurts Anthony Hernandez to a kick to the body. And then he goes Donkey Kong wild man style on him and immediately gasses out probably 3.5 minutes into this fight. And
Oh
Anthony
man.
Hernandez, that boy too good for that. He'll take you down. He's like probably skill wise, he might be the best. Well, you've got Hamzat in this division now, but outside of Hamzat, he might be the best grappler in this division, especially submission grappler. He was just, I mean, just every round getting takedowns, slicing through any sort of guard or defense that Michel Pereira would put up, constantly threatening with chokes, and then just battering Michel Pereira with elbows. You could see their faces after the fight, and you can tell who got their ass whooped, and it was Michel Pereira. It's you have to give credit to DDP, right? Like Michel Pereira has the crazy athleticism cheat codes, just like DDP. But DDP, I guess, DDP has high level strategic thinking. I can't say skill or technique, but he has high level good ideas, and Michel Pereira just doesn't. He has nothing else except that athleticism.
Yep.
And he's not even like built for long distance either, because he gasses out after like 5 minutes. Yeah. So
Ugh.
it was cool for Anthony Hernandez to get that win. I mean, he's another middleweight. It's got a crop of contenders now. It's kind of crazy. We've got Kai Bahalio, we've got Anthony Hernandez. Who else we got that's kind of floating around?
That hasn't challenged for the title or anything like that
Yeah,
yet.
like new young guys that are coming up.
I mean, not new, but Hamza is like
Yeah,
finally like trying to crack in just because of timing.
yeah.
Yeah,
I guess we
yeah,
have Imavov,
yeah,
Kai Bahalio. Yeah, like we've at least got 3 or 4 people, which is good. That's what you want. You want that conveyor belt to keep bringing up the next new hot thing in the division.
yeah,
So,
yeah. That's fair.
yeah, it was good overall. Good again. Talking about October being
I was
like,
just gonna ask. Yeah.
yeah, it's good. We got to see big heavyweight smash. We saw a good women's MMA fight. The Paul Hughes AJ McKee was a very good fight. This told us a lot about middleweight, good flyweight fights, good bantamweight fight, and a surprisingly like gritty, gross old man fight that was entertaining. Like that's if you can't get the cream of the crop, it's good to at least get like a big healthy serving of mashed potatoes. You know what I mean? Like that. Like it was like, all right, this isn't gourmet food, but this is good. This is solid. Yeah, good
All
stuff.
right.
Yeah. Anyway, but now we actually get to the gourmet food. This is the 3-star Michelin restaurant
Yeah. To wrap
of
up
yeah,
October. Yeah.
yeah, the two best fights I think you can make in MMA in this calendar year, and then
Uh-huh.
some other really good fights on top, and then the undercards got some really good fights. And man, we've got the only heavyweight fight outside of Francis I think I'll ever be interested in is coming up on this card as well. So excited about that. So we're going to make picks. We're going to pick all fights on the main event, and then we'll go through the fights that we find interesting on the preliminary card. Colin,
All
where
right.
do you want to start? Should we start with the curtain jerker of the main event, or should we just go right to the top?
Nah, let's start at the curtain jerker. Let's let's
Okay.
let's do this as
Gonna
how we'll
gonna
see it.
save it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta eat our vegetables before we can get our dessert. I get it. I get it. All right. Well, tell me about or don't tell me. I don't share a bullet Magomedov, Armin Petrosyan,
Yeah.
middleweight man.
Yeah,
Middleweight.
another middleweight.
Here's my thing. I think Michel Pereira should fight, regardless of the outcome of this fight. He should fight Shara Bullet next.
Oh.
Like that. That sounds more entertaining to me. Yeah. But tell me, what do you think after we've seen Share Bullet and kind of moaned about him? What do you think about his skill set, and what do you think about the skill set of Armin Petrosian?
Yeah, I mean, at first, the first time I saw Sharabun Magomedov, I was like, okay, like these kicks, yeah, it's an interesting style. We don't really see this in the middleweight. He might be able to do well with it. And then the second time I saw, I was like, all right, well, this is not really gonna go anywhere unless you develop anything else. Like the higher level, you probably won't be able to break in. And I think this
Mhm.
is gonna be one of the. I think this is we're gonna uh the uh the Magomedov hype train is going to be derailed here a little bit. I think Arman Petruccian can. I think his striking is way more developed and more diverse. So as long as he's able to get past that little like flip round kick that that Magomedov throws every time to kind of like stop people from walking in, as long as he
Flip
can like
round kick. You got to describe that one more. I don't know what flip round kick you're talking about.
like where he just basically like does a round kick to the leg and will pop it down and just either throw another one like right to the body. So it's like a minor kick combination or like a side kick from it, where he just kind of
Oh,
like
okay.
flips his leg out there.
Got it. So when he lands the leg kick, taps his foot down, and then just like quickly with it.
Yeah, yeah, just
Oh,
kind of
okay, okay.
sticks it right back out there. And for
Yeah,
most people, for some reason, they can't just like they don't know how to time off of that, you know.
yeah,
And it's not particularly damaging. It's just like it's just enough to just stop someone from walking in.
yeah.
So if he can figure out how to do that and how to not just be, kick the entire time, then I think he can come away with the win. Is he what are the odds for this one? What are they putting
I,
uh Magomedov at?
I gotta imagine Share Bullet is the favorite. He's routinely the favorite, but let me look up the odds.
Yeah, let's see.
Uh,
But yeah. I don't know. I am gonna my pick is gonna be Armand Petrosian, but do I think he's gonna knock him out? Yeah, I'll say by second round TKO. It's a
Second
safe.
round TKO. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah, Armin Share Bullet he's a minus 165 underdog at the odds I'm looking at. To Armin Petrosian's favorite minus 165, and then plus 140 underdog for Armin. Yeah, I think you're right. Like what we've seen from Shara is he likes to kind of dance around at range. He's got good cardio, so he can just kind of spam kicks. They're not particularly like devastating kicks. These aren't Crow Cop like shattering bones and exploding
Right,
livers
right.
kicks. They're just a lot of point scoring and good enough to stop someone from just pressing in on a straight line.
Mhm.
But he doesn't really have decent boxing. I mean, he can throw an overhand just like any other donk. And what really strikes me is he's very bad in the clinch. Like he doesn't have offense, and he doesn't quite know how to position himself when he's in the clinch. And he has no grappling really to speak of.
Mhm.
Armin Petrosian doesn't have as good of kicks as Share Bullet, or I guess is varied, but he has better hands, and he can fight in the clinch. He has like a decent, like he can grab a hold of you and then threaten a takedown or land some dirty boxing. And so not knowing enough about like Armin Petrosian to say like I very confidently think he can stick to a game plan, but the game plan is so simple. You just have to get out of kicking range and get into boxing range, and then press Share a Bullet up against the cage because he also doesn't have very good ring craft. So it's like just you got to press into him and just like be ready to check a kick or eat a kick because most of the kicks aren't even going to the head either. It's just body or leg.
Yeah.
Just eat one, or just be like, on your P's and Q's with checking, and then throw a combination, back him up to the cage, and then just dirty box from there or go for a takedown. Um, so yeah, I think Armin Petrosian by decision. I think he's got enough.
Decision. All right.
Yeah, I think he usually likes to fight on the end of range as well, and jabs. So the question is like, will he just be like, I can do that better than Share a Bullet, which I don't think he. I mean, he might be able to. I actually would say that's probably 50-50, but would I trust him to win a decision if he fights that way? No. But I got to imagine you look at Share a Bullet's fights and you go like, okay, the formula is very easy. I,
Yeah.
I just need to do this. And he has the skill to do it. You never know with fighters, and I don't know enough about Petrosian's kind of mental makeup to go like, oh, I know he definitely can stick to a good game plan.
Right.
But I gotta pick him because Shera Magomedov is just not very good. He's just not very good. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah. Anyway, well, we got that blah, 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 gross middleweight fight. Blah, who
Okay.
cares? Get that out of the way. Now we come to
Mm-hmm.
what seems to be a number one contender fight to go up against Alex Pereira.
Yep.
A bunch of people online complaining that Magomed Ankalaev should have gotten it over Khalil Roundtree, wishing that the fight of the year had been deleted from our memories. I don't know who the fuck these people are. And Alexander Rakic. Tell me why, or tell me how long it's going to take Magomed Ankalaev to shoot for a takedown in this fight.
I think it will depend on whether or not Magomed Ankalaev is immediately or delayed onset of donkey brains.
There it is. Yep.
Because his grappling is very good. It's very strong. Probably one of the best in the light heavyweight. And he routinely seems to think, you know what? I'm actually a striker. I'm going to do this instead. You know? And will sometimes be pulled into that, whether that's antics in the ring or before or outside of the ring. If Ankalaev can stick to the game plan, which I can't imagine it not being grappling and taking Rakic down, that should be like the first thing he does. However, he could be pulled into a stand-up sparring match with Rakic, and Rakic has shown that he is very clean and has good striking. He was piecing up who was it? Yuri earlier this year? Yeah. You know, and he looks really good. And just because Yuri is like just I'm gonna take any pain, whatever, you know, I'll take any strike and just walk in to get mine eventually. I mean, that was just the cheat code that he has. And so I like Rakic's ability, like his just overall skill set and ability, and might be able to pull Ankalaev into his territory, but I for the sake of me wanting to see like a strong grappler potentially matched up with Alex Pereira, I'm hoping Ankalaev sticks with the game plan. I'm hoping. I'm real hoping.
If you were Alexander Rakic's team, what would you advise him to do to A, win the fight, but B, because I think one of the things that happens with Ankalaev, I think ever since that Paul Craig fight, right? That's the one where he got submitted, which I think was his UFC debut. He's beating the brakes off Paul Craig, and then he gets submitted. I really do think he's got a little bit of PTSD about that. And I mean that like legitimately. Like fighters remember losses, and like their body goes through so much trauma that like they kind of like internalize it. He doesn't grapple until he gets beat up, right? Like it wasn't until Jan Blachowicz chopped his legs out from under him so he couldn't like be light on his feet that he started to grapple. He never tried to grapple Thiago Santos. He never tried to grapple Iwan Kutalaba, like two like heavy-handed punchers. In the first Johnny Walker fight, he kind of was grappling Johnny Walker once Johnny Walker kind of like hit him decently hard, and then he was like, "Oh shit, I better grab him." So, would your advice for Rakic be don't hit him very hard? Like just dance around and try to get little pop shots and like outpoint him, so that because it seems like he Magomed Ankalaev, to like reference a Conor McGregor quote, like he becomes a panic wrestler when like he gets hit hard. He's like, shit, I better shoot for something, even though that's his best game. And you're like, why were you not doing that? Like that you kind of have to like fight Ankalaev in a way where he can still think he can beat you striking to keep it standing. You know, it's very weird. Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, the thing Rakic was tearing up Yuri Prohaska's legs with those kicks. He's a huge dude. It sounds like he cuts down from like 235, 240. Like he's a big fucking light heavyweight.
Which is weird because he looked big, but like I feel like Yuri looked as big, if not bigger, when they fought.
Yuri's a weird, yeah. Well, Yuri used to be, I think, a professional basketball player in the Czech Republic, but like
Oh,
he's
really?
big, lanky, yeah, basketball man. Anyway, Rakic has good kicks, right? A good jab, a good solid 1-2. Like you said, very good technique. He does wilt under pressure, right? Like we
Mhm.
saw that with Yuri, right? He was piecing him up, and then Yuri just was like, "I'm gonna just put pressure on you." And then Rakic kind of melts. Um, Having good leg kicks is very good against Ankalaev because Ankalaev is very susceptible to leg kicks. Johnny Walker was able to land them on him. Jan Blachowicz nearly beat him. Uh, so it seems like he could try to take the Jan Blachowicz tactic, which is just chop the legs and then just go jab for jab with him. Because Ankalaev isn't really a huge pressure fighter on the feet. He will get in the pocket and he will exchange, but he's much more of like controlling the distance and having better footwork than a lot of these guys.
Mhm.
The question is like, at what point does Ankalaev then decide to go for a takedown?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you think he will?
I think he probably will, right?
Okay. Okay.
Now, he has gone on record and said that the UFC said if you have a good fight, if you have an entertaining fight with Rakic, and win, then we'll give you a title shot. But it was like it's conditional on it needs to be entertaining.
Okay.
So he could internalize that, which I think like what that coded language means for the UFC is like don't grapple him, right?
Yeah. That's yeah.
Yeah. Or if you do, like it better be the world's fastest. You know, you got like 10 seconds to get a submission, right?
Yeah.
No grinding it out overall, or it needs to be terrifying. Rakic has a decent enough guard, and he's very big, so he usually is pretty good at stopping the very first line of takedown.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if like the first takedown doesn't go super well, Ankalaev abandons it and kind of
Mhm.
has in the back of his mind like, oh fuck, I got to stand with this guy. I don't think Rakic is coming off a loss, so I don't think he has any of that pressure to like you're gonna fight Pereira if you do this. And he signed up for this fight knowing that Ankalaev has very good grappling. So Ankalaev is just so difficult to pick against, but also to pick for because of his donkey brains. Like
Yeah.
it's kind. This is I think a harder one than people are making. What do you think?
Oh yeah. I I want Ankalaev to win because I think that'll be a more interesting matchup with Pereira, and the stakes are more are entertaining for me. I was very impressed by what Alexander Rakic did to Yuri in their last fight, even though he got knocked out in the second round. Like leading
Hmm.
up to it, it was all good. I really, really liked what I saw,
Yeah.
and I don't, I just don't know what Ankalaev will come out. Will
Yeah.
he, will he stick to a game plan? Will he use his advantages and press advantages? Will he not get sucked into in the moment of like the pressure of needing to have an entertaining fight and win? And you know, I I don't know. I don't really trust his ability to do that. You
Hmm.
know, so this is kind of a toss up. Like you said, it's a lot harder to pick than most people think. So let me again. I need to see the live odds on all these.
Let me see. It's minus 400 for Ankalaev, plus 300 for
Geez.
Rakic. See, here's the thing. I see a money line like that. I'm not betting any money on these fights, but I'm like, man, if I got $5 that I wouldn't mind not seeing again, with the potential of walking home with $20,
Yeah.
I'd throw it on Rakic, man. Like
Yeah.
I'd throw it on Rakic. It's yeah. I yeah. That's I throw it on Rakic. I'm gonna. Here's the
Are
thing.
you you're gonna put it behind?
Yeah, I would just say it's so weird because he could do in the very first round what he did to Yuri and like hobble Ankalaev, but then that'll wake Ankalaev up and be like, shit, I gotta take this guy down. And we can see that if you pursue Rakic doggedly for 2 minutes, he completely crumbles mentally. He's like, fuck, I can't get away. Because that's what Yuri did. And it's like, I know Ankalaev has the skill to do that, and he has shown like it in the bag of his trick or in a bag of tricks he has like he can pressure, he can fight off the back foot. So it's like, okay, you should be able to do this, but dude, donkey brains is a powerful disease, man.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna say Rakic decision. It's
All right, all right.
yeah. I'm taking the big underdog. I think it's gonna be Rakic.
I you know what? I'm gonna go right there with you. I'm gonna say
All
Rakic by
right.
decision as well. I think that's good.
The question is, when we have things like this, who wins the first round, Colin?
Huh. I think Rakic will win the first round too.
Yeah, I think so. I think if he's gonna win, like he might 10-8 Magomed Ankalaev in the first round, and then Ankalaev might remember that he can grapple, and then in a matter of 10 seconds, obliterate Rakic in the second round. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. Fuck. I don't know. It is interesting. Like, right? They this is good matchmaking. They have made a fight where I go, ooh, I don't really know.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is kind of difficult in light heavyweight because usually light heavyweight is a wasteland of nothingness. Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's interesting. Middleweight and light heavyweight. Yeesh. Next fight is featherweight.
Oh
Dan
yeah.
Ige, Lerone Murphy. I don't know why this fight's on the main card. I'm supposing it's because Dan Ige did them a solid coming in on 4 hours notice.
Yeah.
But there's there's Mick Debik Uruguay and Mateusz Rebecki and Jeff Neal and Rafael dos Anjos. That should be on this main card. But Lerone Murphy, Dan Ige. What does this fight look like? What are you looking at when you look at this fight?
Okay, so like we said when he came in on 4 hours notice, I am always going to be now a Danny Gay supporter because the way he came out to fight on 4 hours notice, and yes, he was supposedly trading and whatnot, but still, like he just incredible heart, incredible skill, and just I loved it. So I said I'm always going to be a supporter of his. Uh, Earl Murphy here is I, I think it was pretty hyped coming in to the UFC, but
Mhm.
since then it's been like kind of taken out. Okay, his big win is now against Edson Barbosa, but Edson Barbosa kind of been on the downward,
Mhm.
not spiral, but just can't quite cut it anymore.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, it, I don't know enough about Lerone Murphy though to see like okay. The difference is I've not seen a performance out of his that really caught my attention like
Mhm.
Danny Gaze has. And Danny has been kind of consistently strong. Like he's had his up and downs as well, but just his tactics, his striking ability, I think will carry him pretty far in this division. That is, as you've called before, the division of kings. So
Mhm.
I've not seen what we did see though was um like against a heavy top side grappler that keeps pushing and it's just bigger and stronger than him. Like we saw his last fight, then he can like gas out or lose a little bit of energy that way, or lose some of his advantages that way. But uh yeah, I don't see Lauren Murphy as a grappler, but please
Mm-mm.
correct me if I'm wrong. Because
No,
and
he's not.
I don't
Mm-mm.
see him putting on the forward top heavy pressure like Diego Lopez did. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's the main thing.
All right. Yeah, I mean, Danny Ige, good, gritty, fights hard, has a good overhand, has a good lead hook. Pretty good at timing a counter.
Yeah,
And kind of staying in the pocket. He's got pretty good footwork when it comes to like actually exchanging in the pocket. Has nice like well schooled fundamentals. Comes out of that same camp as Sean Strickland and Francis Ngannou with Eric Nixick. Is it Extreme Couture? He always comes in with a good game plan. The thing that strikes me is Dan Ige will have a game plan, come in, be executing on that game plan. If his opponent adjusts mid-fight to that game plan, Dan Ige does not make that in-fight adjustment. He goes, "Well, I'm going to keep going for this thing that I've practiced." And it's like, "Oh, but you're getting countered now
mhm.
by your opponent adjusting." Lerone Murphy is very good at adjusting mid-fight. He's got a really good long jab. He's very difficult to counter. He's also just kind of like bigger and more athletic than Dan Ige.
Uh-uh.
And although they are the same age, I think Lerone Murphy has significantly fewer fighters, like just a lot less miles.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, on his body. Yeah, Lerone Murphy has 14 fights. Danny Ige has 26. And some of those losses are getting pretty battered by Chan Sung Jung, Josh Emmett,
Yeah.
wrestled to death by Mosar Evloev. So yeah, it's it's a good competitive fight, but I definitely think it favors Lerone Murphy.
Okay.
Just because Lerone Murphy does seem to have better in-fight adjustments. He has a 2-inch reach advantage, but he also has a very good long, well-schooled jab. And yeah, I think just the athleticism and kind of like youth edge is on Lerone Murphy's side. I
Yeah.
think could be a pretty close fight overall. But I'm gonna lean Lerone Murphy. I think by decision.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's my thought. What are the odds on this one? Lerone Murphy is a minus 250 favorite. Danny Gay
Yeah.
is a plus 195 underdog. Yeah.
Yeah.
We like Danny Gay. Danny Gay is hard nosed and like he's about it. But yeah, I just don't think this is a matchup that super favors him.
Okay. Well, I'll continue my trend of underdog picks. I'm going with Danny Gay then.
All right.
With the decision. So make
Okay.
it a little interesting here.
There we go. Nice. All right. Ooh. Now it gets good. This is
Yeah.
the fun.
Oh boy.
This is
We
the filet
previewed this
mignon.
before. Like,
Ugh, it's so tasty. I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
all right, all right.
Robert
Now look,
Whitaker.
it's still early. Shemaev may get sick still, so
That's true. I did like one of the things that it sounds like he struggles to cut weight overall. Um with whatever's been going on, it sounds like his immune system's pretty shot from
yeah.
whether it's just, everyone has different genetics. Like some people's immune systems get shot. I could be his very intense battles with COVID-19. But when he's been coming in and fighting above 170, he's looked about as lean as he did when he fought at 170. It just looks like he just couldn't cut the actual water weight to get back down. Looking at a couple of the previews and like interviews of him, he looks like he's bulked up a little bit to make 185. And I go like, hey man, I don't know about that. Like that might tax your body really hard then if you've bulked up rather than walking around at maybe 85 or 190, assuming you were going to cut to 170. If you're bulking up to like 200, 210, I don't know what his actual walking around weight is, but he looks thicker. And so I'm like, that might tax your gas tank even more.
Yeah.
We already know he has a pretty suspect gas tank. Yeah, and he might get sick. Who knows? I'm gonna. You know what? No, don't rain on my parade. This fight's gonna happen, Colin. Fuck you.
All right.
It's yeah. This is gonna happen. He's gonna make it.
Okay.
Even if they have to drag him in there lifeless and throw him on the ground so that Robert Whitaker can just walk over and like punch it. Yeah. This fight's gonna be good. What I mean, we have previewed this before. Give us like I don't know. What are you looking for in this fight? How are you thinking it's gonna look? What does each guy need to do?
Okay. Especially given what you're saying and just with the health concerns and everything. Basically, because Robert Whitaker has shown a propensity for this. Can Whitaker weather the storm of a demon coming out for that first round where he's always been weakest, except for the last fight? Whitaker came out real strong early in that last fight.
Yeah.
But it's a different level of competition now. It's a different level of skill and just pressure. But if he can weather the storm where he's routinely gotten hurt and routinely put in dangerous situations off of his back, if he can avoid that and just kind of like what you said, like not necessarily look for the early knockout, but drag it into the later rounds where he knows he's going to have the conditioning advantage, where he knows he has the skill advantage, and Robert Whitaker is a smart fighter, He is a vicious fighter. He's got massive punching power and massive knockout ability. But if he can kind of play it cool and let, not and it still get his win just later in the rounds, I think he'll have a much it will be with Robert Whitaker's, I don't see this being a first round knockout for him. I see this more of a like drag it out and just wear Khamzat Chimaev down, until like the third, fourth round and do some ground
Mhm.
and pound to not maybe get the finish that way.
Got it. Yeah.
That's what I see there.
Yeah. I think you're exactly right. This is a story of can Rob survive that first, like, 4 to 5 minute onslaught that Chimaev puts on everyone?
Yeah.
Because I went back and watched quite a few of Chimaev's fights just to see how he is in the first round. Two things I noticed. Number one, homie always throws a 1-2, and
Okay.
then the most disgustingly athletic double leg I've ever seen in my life. And a lot of his, like, he does have a lot of technique in the way he's chaining his wrestling, but a
Mhm.
lot of, especially that like Kamaru Usman one, where Kamaru's defending the first line takedown and how he's adjusting. A lot of it is just like Chimaev is just such a hoss that he's
Yep.
able to just like wrench Kamaru Usman off his feet and like shuck him to the ground. Like it's a real marrying of, yes, skill. There's definitely skill in there, but like also so much of it is big energy expending, explosive athletic movements to
Yeah.
just like, yeah, it reminded me of like someone just like with their bare hands like prying open like a clam or like oyster, just be like, give me that shit. Like he just is so like vicious in that. And but in saying that, I go, okay, well that's tiring though, right? Because in the first round of the Kamaru Usman fight, he's dominating Kamaru Usman, but he comes out in the next round, and then Kamaru Usman's a little hesitant because he's like, holy shit, I've never had anyone just kind of like ragdoll me like that. But then neither one of them threw anything. Hamzat just was like, I got to take a whole round to recover.
Yeah.
And so by the third round, he was still landing decently on Usman, but he'd gotten 5 minutes to recover. If Rob being like, okay, I got manhandled that first round, but now I just need to keep sapping his energy tank.
Yeah.
I think he definitely can do that. The other thing I noticed was, has Kamaru or not Kamaru, has Hamzat Chimaev ever fought anyone who's a natural 185er? He's got Kamaru Usman, who's a big 170.
Okay.
Kevin Holland, who we just said
Oh
was like,
yeah.
you're too small to be at 185.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gilbert Burns, who used to fight at 155. Li
Yeah.
Jing Liang, who, he's a fine-sized welterweight. It's not big, it's not small.
Yeah, but
Gerald,
he's not like he doesn't like it doesn't look like he cuts down to it.
yeah. Gerald Mearshart, who has only ever fought at middleweight, but like, it's Gerald Mearshart. Um, and then John Phillips, Reese McKee. Like, none of these people strike me as real. Like, Robert Whitaker walks around at 225, like he's a thick
Right.
middleweight,
Yes.
right? He's not. So I was like, wow, he's never like, I've seen him manhandle welterweights in the first round. And I'm sure he can manhandle middleweights, but like, will the manhandling sap his energy a little bit faster rather than it being 5 rounds of like powerful like ability to just like out athleticism everyone? Will it be or not 5 rounds, 5 minutes? Will it be 4 minutes? Will it be 3 minutes?
Mhm.
Like the other one is he gets into these fights when it goes past the first round and like past like the third minute, where he is striking with someone and is, kind of going tit for tat, or it's pretty even. And the two people that he's done that with are Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman. Neither one of them are like real strikers, right?
Mhm.
Like they are good strikers, but they're limited strikers. They're primarily grapplers who have
Yeah.
picked up striking. That's not the case with Robert Whitaker, man. Robert Whitaker is a well-schooled, smart. He's got a ton of techniques, very varied offense, and he's primarily a striker. So I wonder, like, is Hamzat going to tire out faster in this fight, trying to take Robert Whitaker down? And as long as Robert doesn't get smashed, which he could, he got smashed when DDP took him down. But he knows that's what this fight is, right? Like he
Yeah.
has to know that, right? Where DDP, when he talks about it in interviews, he was like, dude, I was just so surprised he took me down. I was like, holy shit, this guy got me. Um, I think it'll go worse for Hamzat, right? If Gilbert Burns is striking with you tit for tat and almost beating you,
Mhm.
which I thought Gilbert Burns won that fight, but like I think Rob can do this thing, man. Like
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
feeling way more confident that Rob is going to do this. I don't think this is the easy fight that Hamzat and Hamzat's fans think it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Robert Whitaker. I'm going to say second round TKO. like in the back, like 15 seconds of the second round. I think Rob's going to land that head kick, and he's going to be able to take Khamzat Chimaev out.
Mhm.
The one thing I wish Robert Whittaker did have, which he doesn't have in his repertoire, and I think he's kind of too old for him to add it, because he's like 36. It's hard for fighters to change their style dramatically. He doesn't ever attack the body. He doesn't have any body strikes. And it's like, for someone that gasses out in Khamzat Chimaev, you really want to have a good body attack to be able to kind of like sap his gas tank. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's going to be one of these things where it's 10-8 Khamzat Chimaev in the first round, and then Robert Whittaker polishes him off in the second. I think that's what it's going to look like, man.
All right.
I'll be so heartbroken if Khamzat goes, because he's going to take Robert Whittaker down. I just hope like Rob and his team have mentally prepared for, like, you're going to get taken down and you're going to probably get bombed on for a little. You just got to like get back to a knee, get back to, onto your hands and knees, or like you got to like hold on to guard and survive.
Yeah.
Because it would suck to see Rob get taken out.
Yeah.
Also, in talking about this, how's Khamzat going to beat, if he does beat Robert Whittaker, let's say in the first round, how's he going to beat DDP? Because DDP is not going to go away in one round. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be there endlessly, and Khamzat will just pass out. Like, it just, DDP will still be there, and he'll take you out, man.
Yeah.
It's, this division, man.
This is also a 5-round fight, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Which, again, I wonder, like, does that mean Khamzat is going to not be as aggressive in the first round? Worrying about his cardio slightly. And then that allows Robert Whittaker to just put a pace on him. And if Khamzat is not as aggressive and kind of like violent in the first, his first shot or his takedown attempts, or he really employs, like I said, good technique, but a lot of athleticism. If he kind of pulls back on that, he doesn't just step on the gas. Does that just give Robert Whittaker the chance to like take an early lead and then just kind of like in the? Do you remember? Did you ever watch the Robert Whittaker Kevin Gastelum Ultimate Fighter season?
Ooh, I did not know.
They had the coaches challenge, which I think was just to run 3 miles.
Oh, I remember you saying this. Yeah.
And Robert Whittaker, like a Greek god, in his little running short shorts, just is like, you just gotta like set a pace and just keep going and don't deviate from that pace. And Kevin Gastelum is like, I don't ever do running outside of camp. And so Kevin Gastelum like sets off at kind of an early lead and just blows his wad to get ahead of Robert Whittaker. And Robert Whittaker just like keeping his pace, long strides, just not worried about anything. And then like after the first like mile, Kevin Gastelum has to like walk off to the side and start throwing up, and Robert Whittaker just keeps cruising. It's like, could that be what this fight kind of looks like too, if Khamzat isn't willing to go for broke in the first round? But at the same time, Robert Whittaker is slower. He is a little bit chinnier. He is getting rocked in the first round of every one of his fights, basically, except his last one.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. But I got to go with Bobby Knuckles. Yeah. It's Robert Whittaker, baby.
Yeah. I'm same thing. I'm going with Whittaker, though, in the third round. And I think it's going to be like he throws that crossing uppercut that'll buckle Khamzat against the cage, and then he'll just ground and pound him against the cage there.
Yeah.
So
that could be cool. We'll see.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna catch. He's got that like really slapping head kick. Where he really chambers it like all the way back. I think he might catch Khamzat with that, or he might just catch him with the darting jab, and it's gonna be all she wrote. Hopefully. Yeah.
Is Khamzat a lot taller than Whittaker?
Ooh, I don't know. He's got that really long kind of salamander-esque body that makes him look pretty tall. Let's see. Robert
He's
is
2 inches taller.
Okay, 2 inches taller. Only 2 inches. What's
Yeah,
the
it's not.
inch and a half for Khamzat.
Khamzat is 1.5 inches. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the co-main event.
God, and it's a good fight.
It is.
I'm so pumped for that. Just thinking about it, I'm like, oof, it's gonna be good.
And again, a lot of implications for its division afterwards.
Mm-hmm. The implications.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Here it is.
Oh boy.
The best MMA can offer. The Division of Kings, featherweight. A
Yep.
former king, Max Holloway, who back-to-back knocked out Jose Aldo against the new king, trying to say that he belongs in that conversation with Holloway, Volkanovski, and Aldo.
Mhm.
Ilya Topuria, man. Lay it on me. What does this fight look like? What does each guy got to do? What do you think makes you lean whatever direction you're leaning?
Oh boy. I I love this matchup. I am it's one of those where as soon as the walkouts happen, I'm gonna be nervous. There are a few fights, when you feel like you're in the corner with them, and just with the amount of nerves that you have coming into it. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's just me because I like can relate to some of these guys or whatnot, but like, oh man, I know as soon as Max comes walking out, I'm gonna be sweating, and it's a great fight.
Yeah.
Topuria, the one thing that we haven't seen from him
Hmm.
is his grappling. Like
Yeah.
like you said, he's jiu-jitsu black belt, and he's like a very skilled grappler. And it's
Yeah.
just that his striking has leveled up substantially to
Mhm.
almost like rival his grappling. So he hasn't needed to use what has been his strong suit, what has
Yeah.
been the thing that got him to the big stage. Because on the big stage, he's just been knocking everyone out,
Yep.
which is pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Uh,
He started off as a child in Georgia, um, uh, being in Greco-Roman wrestling as a small
okay.
child, and then when he went to Spain, he moved to Spain. I think when he was like 4 or 5, maybe 6. He transitioned to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu
Mhm.
there, and then has picked up boxing since getting into MMA.
Yeah.
And he's got good boxing, man.
Yeah. And so yeah, his stand-up game has really improved it, and part of it is just he has insane knockout power with his hands.
Hmm.
I don't know if that is what was just developed or what he just latently had naturally in himself, but it's just he when he hits people, it is thunderous,
Hmm.
And it's not like a yes, there's technique, but it's not like a technique based knockout. It's like, hey, you have now learned how to throw like this sledgehammer of a hand that you have to knock people out now.
Well, I'll push back on that. Like he's picking his shots really well, and he's using his footwork to perfectly line himself up for that knockout shot.
Mhm.
Like he's not Francis Ngannou kind of wild haymaker and just like booping people out of his stance with his eyes closed. Like that Alexander Volkanovski knockout, especially, like he resets, he pushes away and makes sure that he has the distance perfectly before he lands that knockout punch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's the same type of knockout each time, which is not a
yeah,
bad thing. It is those big hooking techniques where
yeah.
he's able to throw with his whole body weight because he's not like remember how we talked about the featherweight it's become this new weird division where like a lot of big people are just cutting down to try to bully smaller people.
Hmm.
He is not like a big 145er. Like he looks big and strong, but he's not like Diego Lopez.
No, yeah, he definitely looks like if he really wanted to cut, he could do the Jose Aldo cut to 135.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know? Yeah.
So so yeah, and so he's not like super big, but he is able to use these strikes in a way where he can throw that full body weight and body frame behind his strikes. And
Yep.
he's been catching people with big, strong hooking techniques.
Hmm.
And but Max has always been a stand-up guy. He's never been someone to like go for the takedown and try to get a submission or fight off his back. That's not usually his game. If he finds himself there, he'll use it, but he much prefers to just stand and bang there.
Yeah.
And for his frame and his height, he also loves to use those like hooking techniques, whether it's to the body or to the head, but his are much more done in volume rather than like one big knockout one,
Yeah.
as evidenced in
Hmm.
his knockout against Justin Gaethje. He set it up with 2 hooks to the body and then one over the top to the head.
Yeah, I
And
mean, we have to also remember that he had put a beating and broken Justin Gaethje's nose for 4.5 rounds before that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah. Oh,
he
of
was
course.
drowning him in volume too. It wasn't
Yeah.
like
Well,
a
Max
one
has
hit and
always been a
quitter.
volume
Yeah.
puncher,
Yeah.
just landing at a like ridiculous rate, and they built, and that kind of accumulated damage just builds up over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So with this fight, this is two things. One, does can Max be smart and weather the storm against the like one hit knockout power of Topuria? And can
Mm-hmm.
he use like a straight line strike to just essentially stop Topuria from coming in on a straight line to wing those strikes?
Mm-hmm.
Max has the skill to do that, but he doesn't necessarily want to. He wants to fight in exciting blood and guts fights there. Even though if he could get away with points and just like stick a jab or stick a front kick and just, dance on the outside that way to win. And if he knew that was the straight way to win and he'll get his win that way, I still don't think he would do it. I think he would get pulled into like a like a gunslinging fight. And that's what's made him so popular. That's what's given him a lot of success. But against someone like Topuria, that's a very, very dangerous fight to have. And
Let me push back on that a little, because like in his
okay,
last few fights, he was running away with the Justin Gaethje, but like the Arnold Allen fight, it was very much that point and stick against Arnold Allen. Against Alexander Volkanovski in his losing decision, he didn't try to go blood and guts. He kind of tried to just take the fight back at range. Yair Rodriguez, he tried to takedowns primarily. I think when he can start rolling downhill on people, I think this most recent version of Max, like in the Calvin Kattar fight, like in the Justin Gaethje fight, he will still kind of do that blood and guts when he's running away with it. But if he's losing, he is very disciplined in mixing in his wrestling, in like really trying to control the range with his jab. I don't know if he's got the donkey brains to just go for blood for no reason. Right, like that Justin Gaethje fight, he kind of had donkey brains at the very end, but he was winning, and what was impressive is like he could have just like not thrown any more punches that round, and he would have won the fight like 5 rounds to 0. But he went, fuck it, I'm gonna go for it right here. I don't know if he's gonna do that when the title's on the line, right? And this is probably his last title shot at featherweight.
yeah, that's the other thing too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I have this sinking feeling that like Max could get sucked into that, and for that kind of reason, like this is, Max already has all the accolades, but he still wants to cement his legacy as one of the like the most dynamic, incredible fighters. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, and it's just, yeah, I just see Max a lot of times he has the length, he has the skill to do things in a very like almost like by the books way to do it, but he doesn't always pick his shots that way. And against Topuria, I think that's really dangerous. And what if Topuria just decides to try to take Max down? Because, looking at Max's fight career, when has he had to like really fend off against like submission grappling aces like that? I mean, you've got Brian Ortega, but that was an entirely stand-up fight. You had Frankie Edgar, which is all stand-up as well. I mean,
I think he stuffed like 20 of Frankie's takedowns. I think Max has very good takedown defense. I think he's very difficult to take down.
Yeah.
And I think that it ends up becoming this thing where it becomes so challenging to take him down, and he's so good at controlling range with his jab when he can get his jab going that it never even allows people the chance to go for a takedown. Yeah, that's. But I honestly don't think there will be a shot or a takedown in this fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it is, it'll be a desperation one, right?
Okay.
Yeah, because how many takedowns has Max given up in his entire career? It's almost like none. I can't think of any fight where there's been a takedown that like was really hit against him. I mean, Calvin Kattar went for a takedown. He can't get it, right? Like a lot of people go for it. They just can't get them because Max is just, he's too difficult to take down. I mean, like the last time where there was a really wrestle heavy approach against him was against Conor McGregor way back in 2013.
Mhm.
when Connor blew out his ACL. But otherwise, Max has got really good takedown defense. He never gets taken down.
Mhm.
And I don't think I've seen anything in Ilia Topuria's takedown game itself. I know once he's on the ground, he's very good. We've seen that, but like getting it to the ground doesn't strike me as like that. That's his ability to initiate the takedown isn't,
Right.
I would say, one of his strong suits overall. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, what? Talk to me about Max Holloway's defense. Like, does he have good defense?
Um,
Or is it more relying on the fact that he's got an unbreakable chin?
I mean, I think he definitely relies on his durability.
Mhm.
I think there's a few times where he has used some defensive savvy, like mostly like swaying away, not necessarily like side to side head movement, you
Mhm.
know? I think it's mostly also using his like his range and height to get out of the
Mhm.
way, just kind of naturally like pulling back. But yeah, it is not like he is not insanely defensively sound. Let's say that.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think he's like one of these really rare fighters where he's very high level, like a very skilled fighter, but he has very little defense. It's mostly his offense and his ability to use like volume punching to dissuade people from kind of throwing at him is kind of like this insulation against his lack of defense. And then
Yeah,
also that ridiculous chin. Um, so that even when he does get hit cleanly, it doesn't wobble or really drop him.
yeah,
Um, but it mostly, he doesn't have a great amount of defense other than stopping you from coming in with a jab or a combination and
mhm,
kind of making you afraid
yeah,
of his offense. Yeah. Which is kind of a blessing and a curse against Ilia Topuria, right? Because like I think every opponent Ilia Topuria has had may definitely has a weaker chin than Max Holloway.
mhm,
So could Max's chin against Topuria's power, and can that? Because one thing also that I don't know about is like how good is Ilia Topuria's gas tank? We know he can go 5 rounds against Josh Emmett, but he was
mhm.
controlling that fight entirely, and it's so much less taxing when
Yeah,
you have complete control and like
yeah.
throw
When
when
you're
you want
moving
to
forward
throw.
the whole time, yeah,
Yeah. And so if he is moving forward the whole time and Max is eating his punches, is that a little mentally like, ah, fuck, what? And then if Max does come back a little with volume, can he drown Taporia like Max likes to do against opponents?
yeah,
Um, I would say if it was the youthful Max that drowned Jose Aldo twice, I'd probably pick that Max. But that's not the Max we have. We have a Max that's a little bit slower. We have a Max who hasn't been drowning his opponents with kind of the same ferocity as when he, you know, took the belt.
right,
When he knocked out Jose Aldo twice, I mean, obliterated Brian Ortega. Like he's not quite the same Max that he was. He's still very good, but he's just older, right? Like that was
yeah.
back in 2017. Like it's
Jeez,
it's been 7 years, and he was in that fight with Dustin Poirier where he got rocked multiple times. He was in the 3 Alexander Volkanovski fights. That last one being kind of a shellacking. Um, he was in that Chan Sung Jung fight, which even though he won, he was getting hit cleanly and hard by Chan Sung Jung. Um, yeah, I look at the Ilia Topuria fight against Alexander Volkanovski, which was to uh, the strategy seemed to be take kind of nullify Volkanovski's jab
mhm,
with leg kicks or that shoulder roll, and then firing back with a counter to make Volkanovski less hesitant to lead or more hesitant to lead with the jab, and then back him up to the cage,
mhm.
and then unload with him when he can't kind of dance around or like lean out of the way to take some sting off the punches. And I go like, that sounds like the strategy that Volkanovski used to beat Max in their third fight.
Mhm.
Take away the jab, kick out that front leg when he is jabbing, and then back him up in a straight line. Because Max Holloway, when he's pressured, does often back up in a straight line.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I go, 20 Poirier hits harder than Volkanovski and is 27 and is like has youth. Why won't that work against Max? You know?
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Also, this is back at 145 too. I know we said
yeah,
at the beginning, and Max looks really good at 155. How much
yeah,
more does he have at 145? Like that's
yeah, and it's always been a kind of a rough weight cut for him because he's a big 145er.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and like again, I know he's only 32, right? Like he's
I
not.
can't believe he's only 32.
But I mean, dude, the guy's got miles on him.
I know, that's
History.
my point right there.
Yeah, 32. And how many fights has he had?
Was it
He's what
33?
33 matches. Well, and like yeah, he had a Justin Gaethje fight. He took two of Justin Gaethje's like best punches flush. One of them dropped him, even though they don't count it as a drop.
Yeah.
He took. I mean, he washed Chan Sung Jung, but Chan still had like could still throw. And he 8 punches from him, 8 punches from Arnold Allen. Took a beating against Volkanovski. Took full head kicks from Yair Rodriguez. Like he's taken a fuckload of damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, the two things though are like he's very smart. Max Holloway is, and like Topuria does struggle against southpaws, and we do know Max can fight out of either stance.
Mhm.
Do we see Max come out in southpaw? Because Topuria's game is not, his striking is still not like well equipped to beat people out of either stance. He much prefers to fight orthodox fighters, and we
Yeah.
know Max can fight out of either stance. So does Max do that to kind of confuse Topuria? Like again, we don't know about like Topuria's gas tank and resilience when like the fight really gets dragged into deep waters. And we know Max can do that, but Max is not the Max that reigned over the featherweight division, right? He doesn't drown people at like kind of the same pace that he used to.
Yeah.
Though he still can. Yeah, and we do know that Topuria's backhand, when he finishes a combination with that backhand, he returns it to about his like rib level. He doesn't pull it back. He's not defensively sound with his backhand, so he will be susceptible to the counter. Max has never been like a great like slip and then counter. He's just more of like eat the punch and then counter.
Yeah.
Or kind of stop you with the jab and then he kind of beats you in the combination itself. It's not really like a full counter. It's like we're gonna both throw our offense at the same time, and I'm just gonna beat you because my timing is a little bit better. I don't know, man.
It's a tough one.
I got a bad feeling. Like again, I go back to that third Volkanovski fight, which was at 145, and I just go like Volkanovski took it to him, and he did it in the way, kind of. I mean, less kicks and less feints, or more kicks and more feints. But he did it kind of in the same way that Topuria did it to Volkanovski. Back him up, take away the jab, and then once his like back is to the cage and he has less ability to get away with his footwork, land heavy on him. And Topuria just lands harder, man. He just lands a lot harder.
Yeah.
But what does his pace look like? Does Max come out southpaw and make it confusing for Topuria? Max has a good jab. If Max can get his jab going out of southpaw before Topuria is able to take it away, does that shift the momentum enough to where Max can punish to the body a bunch? He's good striking kind of like every target. Can he slow down Topuria and take some of the sting off his punches? I don't know, man. I don't know. Give me your pick.
Yeah, I mean, ever since we thought about as this being a prospective fight, I've been nervous too. And it's one of those things like, okay, is this the end of like of Max Holloway, basically? This guy's just young, he's strong. Like Topuria is a legitimate, scary champion right now. And yeah,
and a good and a high level, like a high level fighter.
Oh yeah,
he's not just scary as in like, oh wow, this guy can. He's just got he's not DDP. There's like the divisions in the UFC are kind of diverging. Where like some are going the DDP route, where it's just like
the
era of athleticism and donkey brains, and then there's some still holding on to the the flame of featherweight and its greatness, where like every new champion is significantly better than the last. And
Yeah.
Topuria is he's going in that direction, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So this
Yeah.
is like, can the old come back, or is the
Mhm.
new here to stay and take over?
Yeah.
And uh, the betting man in me would say, or the logical person would say Topuria for me,
Hmm.
and possibly by knockout. But I gotta support Max. I'm going on record to say Max Holloway's gonna take the belt back, and
All right.
it's gonna be, yeah, at times it's gonna be really, really, really scary. Like
Hmm.
I think Topuria will get a knockdown, and yeah, and Max is just gonna have to basically dig deep and basically, like you said, for like with the Roundtree fight, basically sacrifice like months or years off his life to like
Oh yeah.
deliver in this fight here. So I'm gonna say Max by decision.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Topuria's never fought someone who can fight out of both stances quite as well as Max.
Hmm.
Max is taller, right? Like he's going to be the tallest dude. Well, besides Jai Herbert, but Jai Herbert was able to drop Topuria. We know Topuria's
Yep.
chin is not legendary like Max's. Topuria's never fought a chin like Max's. Um, yeah, so that you've got that going for him. But Topuria second round TKO.
Oh man.
I think it's going to look very similar to the Volkanovski fight. I think, Max might come out to an early lead and maybe take the first round. But, dude, all Topuria really needs is to get you cornered like along the cage where you can't. Like you said, Max doesn't have a ton of defense other than his chin, but you did mention because of his height, he will lean. If your back is to the cage, you're not leaning.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Topuria relies on that. And Topuria in that combination, that final combination against Volkanovski, resetting his feet like mid combination, like pausing, taking like a beat to reset his feet to land that knockout punch. Max has got a legendary chin. Max might eat 2 or 3 of those, and it might dissuade Topuria a little. But if Topuria is able to land 3, 4, 5 of those against Max, I think that chin finally cracks,
Yeah.
especially because it's at 145, man.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's like he got dropped for a split second against Gaethje, which means his chin, little crack there, little tiny, like, oop, his chin's not quite as good as it used to be. But then to drain yourself after taking that punch in your last fight, like the chin doesn't get better, like it
Right.
doesn't,
Yeah. Yeah.
so, and now he's going to be at 145. Hey. I don't know, man. Topuria looks
Yeah.
well hydrated and like fully like this is a division for him, and he's not
Yeah.
even like cutting a
Yeah.
ton of weight, and this is hard for Max. So it's I'm like sad, but I'm also really excited. It was kind of like watching Max knock out Jose Aldo twice. I was like, man, I love Jose, but God, it's so cool to see this guy. Like I can't
Yeah.
wait to see this guy's reign. It'll be cool to see Topuria do it. And if Max retakes it, I mean, either way, whoever wins this fight is I know we don't have time for it, but is fighter of the year. Like it's true. Like you can't have that moment at UFC 300 and then beat Topuria, the next gen at 145 to reclaim your belt, something nobody's ever done at 145, or knock out Volkanovski and Max, like 2 of the greatest fighters of all time. That's way better than beating Jamal Hill. Who? Yeah. Anyway, it's a good fight. God, it's going to be a good fight card. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
at noon. So
Yeah.
that's good.
Well, the main card starts at 11 a.m.
Nice.
Western time. So
Nice. Love it. I know we got to go soon. What about this undercard? Any thoughts, feelings about any of these fights?
Rafael dos Anjos is fighting again.
Yeah, against
They,
Jeff Neal. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I think that'll be
Like
good.
that.
That'll be entertaining.
I'm a little
Like
worried that Dos Anjos is going to just get beat up by massive welterweight Jeff Neal. I feel Dos Anjos is good, but he's small for welterweight.
But yeah, I guess I do, as much as you hate heavyweight, I do like Chris Barnett, just insane. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you like him? You like him too?
Yes, dude. Kennedy and Cheku against Chris Barnett. That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that.
Okay, okay, good.
That's slop bucket goodness right there. That's the good slop, right? Like that's fun. I don't need Abus Magomedov, a guy who gets John Strickland fighting. That's not good slop. That's bad slop. But Chris Barnett coming out there doing cartwheels and shit against a giant heavyweight, awesome. I love that shit. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
weirdly athletic for his like shape and frame and
yeah, for his
size. Like
obesity, yeah,
I love it. I love it. And I love
awesome.
his celebration too.
Yeah, dude, Chris Barnett, he should headline UFC Apex 100.
Yeah, he would
And
be
it should be
great.
3 rounds. We don't need 5 rounds from Chris Barnett. We just need 1 round. Just say it's 1 round. It's a 1-round fight. Yeah, that's awesome. Love that fight. And then Miktabik Orboy against Mateusz Rebecki.
Oh yeah.
It's hard because you've got Ilya Topuria, Max Holloway, and Hamzat and Robert Whitaker on there. But like, besides those two, this is sneaky like fight of the night territory. Miktabik Orboy and Mateusz Rebecki both really good. Not in the top 15 at lightweight yet, but like these guys are coming for the top 15.
All right.
Yeah, so 3 good fights on the undercard, including the only heavyweight fight I maybe will ever endorse, ever. And then, I mean, one of the strongest cards they've had all year when it comes to main card. Yeah. It's good shit, man. It's good shit.
It is. Oh, I'm gonna be nervous all Saturday.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. You know what? If Hamzat beats Robert, I'll be sad. If Ilya beats Max, I'll be sad. If Max wins, I'll be happy. But like the one that'll make me the most sad is if Magomed Ankalaev comes out there and just beats Rakic really easily. That'll make me sad. Especially if he beats him striking. That'll piss me off. Yeah, because like, dude, we can't reward these donkey brains.
Yeah, but
anyway,
look, if he's able to outstrike Rakic, then
yeah, then okay, then we have some interest with Pereira. Or if Share a Bullet wins, I won't care for that either.
Yeah.
But also, like, I feel like that fight's gonna suck ass.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna be an interesting or entertaining fight at all.
No, that should be relegated to the Apex. I know Share a Bullet can't fight in America. Right. I don't think Magomed Ankalaev, maybe he can. Because Hamzat Chimaev can't, and neither can Share a Bullet. Ankalaev, I think, can, but he had some issues as well, because they're all tied to that Chechen warlord, Kadyrov. So the U.S. won't let them in. Yeah. Anyway, it'd be weird to have like a champion that could only fight. So I guess Islam Makhachev mostly only fights in the Middle East. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be a weird thing. Like somebody, who like is sanctioned by like the EU and North America for their like ties
associations.
To, like, with a war criminal. Weird, man. Weird as hell. Anyway, well, UFC 308. We're finishing off October strong. We've had 2 or 3 of the best fights of the year already this month with the return of Big Francis. And now we're about to see who the real featherweight king is, and Bobby Knuckles might finally get that title shot against DDP again. I'm really holding out for that because I think if anyone in the division can beat DDP, it's got to be Bobby Knucks.
He's kind of our last hope now.
He really is. He really is until this division just falls into full chaos. It really is the dark ages in middleweight. Anyway, all right. Well, this has been 2 Fight Fans. I'm 1 Fight Fan Stuart.
I'm the other Colin.
308, baby. Watch
308.
it. Cancel all your plans. Yeah. All right, everybody.
All right.
Bye.